Hello. Um, my name's Mark. I'm a children's author and illustrator, and I just thought I would give you a little lesson on how to draw a robot. So I've been working on a new book. I've done a couple of books about robots. One was called Frankenstein. The other one was called Chip, which came out last year. Whilst I was illustrating Chip, I drew this character, and it kind of suggested a story to me, and I came up with a name for him. He's going to be called Dunderhead. So I've just started work on this book. I've got the story. So the first thing that I do is I start to imagine what the characters would look like in the book. Most importantly in this book, Dunderhead. So I start off doing little kind of sketches on scrappy pieces of paper like this, just to sort of get a feel for what the robot might look like. And then I move to my sketchbook and I'll start to do kind of more detailed sketches. And we've got Dunderhead. So I'm going to teach you how to draw Dunderhead. It won't be quite as complex as that. I'm going to make it a little bit simpler for you. So I'll just get the camera ready here. So I've got my piece of paper. I'm just using a normal piece of A4 paper. Let's get it set up. A normal piece of A4 paper here. And to give us guidelines, I'm going to do some folds on the paper. So firstly, I wouldn't normally do this when I'm drawing. I'm going to fold my piece of paper in half, like that, so we get a fold down the middle. Then I'm going to fold it in half the other way. So we're going to divide it into quarters, like this. And then in half into the middle, like this. So I'm going to that first line there, like that. Okay, which gives us 4 squares, and the same on this side. Like that. So that is going to give us a guide. Okay, so we've got 8 separate squares in all. So just going to flatten it out a little bit so you still hopefully be able to see the creases. I'm going to start with the top part of the robot. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the line for the shoulders in. So I'm going to start here. Now a tip I'm going to give you is always draw lightly. Because if you draw lightly, it means it's easy for you to correct it. So I'm starting with a really lightly drawn line. Don't strangle your pencil, don't hold it right at the end like this. Try and draw a very lightly drawn line. It makes it easier to correct it. Okay, so from there, I'm going to draw a curved line like this. This is going to become the shoulders eventually. I'm just putting a curved line in there. And because our robot's symmetrical, I'm going to do the same on the other side. So we're always going to be repeating the stages on both sides and trying to get it looking the same. So another curved line in there. Okay, so from about here on the shoulders, I'm going to draw a line. Another nice curved line, and it's going to go down to about 2 centimetres beyond that curve, like this. Okay, and the same on the other side. That's just more like a centimetre. Up there, like this. Now the good thing about this being on a video, if you're doing this at home, of course you can stop the video and you can hold the different stages before moving on. Okay, so next I'm going to put another curved line in here like this. At the bottom of the hips. Okay, so we're going to work on the top half of the robot, almost said dragon then, I draw lots of dragons, and next I'm going to put in a sort of collar line in there. Okay, we're going to add more detail to this robot later. Now for the head, I'm going to move just about a centimetre, I suppose, above the shoulders, and I'm going to draw an oval shape like this. We'll add a little bit of detail to that later, but we're just putting in lightly the rough shapes, and then we'll go in and add detail later. It's a mistake of going in with detail sort of too soon. Now, I'm going to put in the kind of shoulders, finish off the shoulders here. Firstly, I'm going to put 2 lines like this. And then I'm going to draw an ellipse. Now, an ellipse is something that artists use an awful lot. And I'm just going to pause doing this drawing for a little bit, and I'm going to cut to a video which talks to you a little bit about understanding ellipses. Okay, to explain ellipses, I'm going to use this cup of tea which I've almost finished. Now, if I go completely over the top and look down at my cup of tea, we can see that it's a circle. Now, as I move down, the circle kind of flattens, and that's what an ellipse is. It becomes like an oval shape. So I'm sort of down here. If I go down, so I'm exactly level with the top of the cup of tea, you see how it becomes a line? It's no longer an ellipse. And then if I move down, it becomes curved again as I'm looking up at it. So that basically what an ellipse is, from a circle that gets flattened like this. Okay, so if I was to draw that cup, if I'm looking straight down on top of it, obviously we've got a circle like this. Not a very good circle. Maybe the cup handle like that. Now, as we came down, the circle flattened, didn't it? Like that. Then if we come down to level with it, it's going to be flat like that. And then if we're below it, we'd be kind of looking up at the cup. We won't see inside the rim anymore, but we'll still see that curve there. Like that. So that is basically what an ellipse is. Okay, so back to the drawing. So I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to draw a line in here and a line there, and then we draw that ellipse, which hopefully now you've watched the other part of the video and you know what an ellipse is. Okay, so I'm going to finish off the shoulders. As well as having this kind of disc, I've also put kind of half a sphere, so I'm going to follow that little curve there and then draw a semicircle like that, and the same on the other side. A semicircle in there. Just going to sharpen my pencil quickly. Always important to keep your pencil nice and sharp. Another little artist tip. So, We're going to add a little bit more detail to the head next. So I'm going to start with the kind of ears. They're not really ears, they're kind of like bolts that hold his jaw on. So I'm going to put a circle, a little semicircle in there, and another one here. I'm drawing a little bit heavier here, but keep it light because it's always good to be able to change it. Then I'm drawing in the shape of his head, another semicircle like that. I'm going to put the jaw in next, so 2 lines like that, and then a slightly curved line in here. Try and keep it nice and symmetrical all the time. And the sides of the jaw, 2 lines coming down here. And then another curved line in there. So that gives us a lower jaw of the robot. Next, I'm going to draw the kind of eyebrows and the nose in one. It's going to be sort of like a metal panel. So drawing a line round here like that, and the same on the other side. See the way that kind of gives us a nose and eyebrows. And then the most important part of anything you draw, I'm going to give him 2 circular eyes. Like that. Okay, so he's beginning to get a little bit of personality now. Other details I'm going to add, I'm going to give him a kind of mouth by just doing something that's sort of painted onto the metal. A little mouth like that. It's important he's quite a happy character, so I've made him look quite happy in this drawing. Just going to add a little bit more detail into the bolts that are on the side of his head here. And the screws. Like that. Now, I'm going to give him a kind of, if you can imagine, he's got like a little hatch on the top of his head, so just going to give him a little wheel here which enables whoever's repairing him to get inside his head. Like that. Okay, and he might have a couple of little air vents on the side of his head as well, so I'm going to put a couple of little lines there just to help cool down his electronic brain. Okay, so that's kind of the head finished. We're going to join the head to the body by giving him a neck. I imagine he'd have some kind of tube. I'm going to give it a circle there, so it's a little bit like a kind of Adam's apple. This is the point that all the kind of wires from his body come from his head to tell his body what to do. So we're going to put all those inside a tube like this. And then to help his head sort of turn and tip way out next to, he's got a couple of little pistons sticking up like this. I'm just going to give him a little bit more of a bit of a collar there like this. Okay, so that's the kind of head finished. I think we should give him some arms next. So I'm going to draw 2 curved lines coming down from here. It's going to be the upper part of his arm, sorry. And it's going to be like a kind of segmented steel tube. So I'm going to draw some little segments in that like this. Maybe 3 or 4 segments. Same on the other side. Stopping just above that halfway line of the arms. And give that some segments as well. Keep the number the same, so if you've done 4, keep it the same on this side. Don't want a lopsided robot. Okay, and we're going to draw a sort of U shape like that. And then the main part, the forearm, 2 curved lines coming down like this. A little bit flatter at the bottom. And the same on the other side. Just drawing a line across here to see I get them at the same height. Okay, so we're going to put a little bit more detail into the body before we move to the hands. With these kind of shoulder discs that we've got up here, so I can make that line heavier there, like this. I'm going to put some little kind of notches, just to add a little bit detailing to it. And I'm also going to add a kind of armpit underneath here, because he's going to need to be able to rotate that arm, so he's going to need to have a little bit of space under there. And put a bit of shading in there because it's sort of dark in there. Same on the other side, so we're putting that kind of armpit in under here. Maybe a sort of ball and socket joint going into there. A bit of shading. And the notches. Now, for his chest, I'm going to do a kind of metal panel and add a little bit of detail. So I'm going to draw a shape a little bit like this. It's going to come down, curve round, like this. Try and keep that symmetrical if you can, like a mirror. And then I'm going to follow that line, draw another line following that shape. Take your time. Drawing is not a race. It's not who does the quickest drawing is the best at drawing. It's a person that takes the most time and care. And I'm going to add some rivets to that. Maybe you're drawing a robot. Rivets are a very important thing because it holds it all together. Keep the same on both sides. Okay, so that's a kind of chest panel. I think you might also have some kind of dial, which perhaps tells him how much fuel or how much charge he has left. So I'm going to put right in the centre of his chest here a dial. little reflection marks. Maybe you'll see a little hand, a bit like a clock. Put more than one dial if you want, go mad. And we're also going to give him some, a bit like we did on the head, we're going to give him like a radiator, like you see on a car. So it's a little kind of panel which has air vents in there, just to keep him cool when he's working hard in the recycling centre. And also maybe another couple of panels there. And this helps describe, by drawing this line in here, helps describe the shape of the robot, showing that he's got this round barrel chest. And again, more rivets. Okay, so we're going to continue to add a bit more detail to the arms now. Oh, actually, I was going to add another kind of panel in there, like that. And some more rivets. There's a rivet that's sort of around the corner a little bit, so it's just a little semicircle. Same on this side. Okay, so like I said, a little bit more detail to the arms. So we'll start with the hands. I'm going to give him sort of quite different hands from they're going to be quite grabby hands. So I'm starting with 2 marks like that, same on the other side. It's going to be like a cone, but I'm going to kind of put a notch, so sort of archway shape like that. And then 2 lines at the bottom, and then join that up to there. Same here, same on this side, so a kind of archway, 2 lines, and then join it up to those curved lines. We're going to have the fingers coming out of these notches, so start off shape like that. It's going to be the one pointing towards us, and then a kind of triangle like this. Same here. Shape like that, and then that little joint there. And the same here. A triangle on the end. Great big powerful grabby fingers that you need when you're picking up great big hunks of metal. Maybe add a little bit of shading in here. He needs that kind of notch to be able to bend his arm, this kind of notch in here that I'm drawing. And we can give him a little bit of paint work. Helps to describe the shape by drawing this in, so keeping these curved lines to show that the forearms are kind of cylinder. And then maybe it's 2 panels that are joined together, and again more rivets. I'm hoping that this is a riveting drawing lesson, like that. And then same again on this side. Got to draw in the fingers, didn't I? Some more rivets. Just draw in those fingers. Now, a thing to remember about drawing, don't ever think that it's going to be your last drawing. When I was younger and when I was drawing, you want every piece you do to be a masterpiece, and it's not going to be. You get better at it, so except if your drawing isn't as good as you want it to be. I often doing drawings all the time that I'm not pleased with, but the next one is always going to be better, and then the one after that will be even better. So if you want to be good at drawing, I don't believe there's such a thing as talent. I think it's a case of wanting to do it and to not think that, you know, this is just going to be the best piece ever. Try to make it your best piece ever, but don't be disappointed when it's not. Okay, so that's the top part of our robot finish, pretty much. I'll add a bit more detail later, maybe. So now we're going to move to the legs. So I'm going to start, he's going to have a kind of pelvis, I'd call this, really, this part. So we'll start with two curved lines like this. And then join those together. And then there's kind of going to be a ball and socket joint like this that's running through this part of the pelvis. It's a bit like hip bones, really, I suppose. So two ball and socket joints like that. We want to finish off this ellipse, just taking that up to here like this. We're looking up on that ellipse, we're seeing inside it. A little bit of shading in there. And then we're going to have similar legs as we do arms. The legs are going to be quite short because all of the power is in the upper part of this robot. He's all about upper body strength. So his legs are going to appear a lot shorter in the upper body. As proportions. So two curved lines almost going down to this line here, a little bit above it. And the bottom part of the legs are going to be similar to the forearms, so lots of weight in the bottom to sort of root him to the spot because he's got this very heavy upper body. So I'm going to start with a circle around this, or an oval. And then, like I said, similar shape as we had in the forearms. I'm leaving a fair bit of space at the bottom here for the feet. He's going to have quite big, heavy feet. And then finish that off. I'm looking slightly down on the ellipse now, like that. See the way I sketch and then go in with a heavier line. It gives your drawing more life as well if you do it like that. Okay, now for the feet, so very similar to the hands in fact. So I'm going to start with sort of cone. It's going to be sort of cone shape, same as it was here. So two curved lines, or little lines like that. And then we do same as we did with the hands. So two arches. And lines at the bottom, and then curved lines leading up to there. We're just going to be able to fit in the feet, so That one's going to be like that. Just putting a little rivet in there. And there's kind of flat bit joining the floor. Like that, and then the same again on the other side. The little rivets in there. Maybe we could have on the legs some more paintwork just to describe the shape. Give us, so I'm going to put maybe a stripe going around his leg like that. And following what we did with the arms, I'm going to make that into 2 panels and add in some rivets. Maybe a little bit of paintwork in here, add a bit more decoration. You can take more time and care over this. I'm just rushing it in quickly. I might have a little bit of shading on this. Now what you could do when you finish your robot is perhaps add a little bit of colour to it. I'd advise using colour pencils. I never think there's good results from felt tips, or you could try painting it. Remember with colour pencils, they are pencils. You don't have to use flat colour. You can shade with them like you can with a normal type pencil. Do a little bit of rust patches maybe where water's run. I love to paint rust. Maybe another panel in here as well, and a couple of rivets. And around his face I think I'll have a bit of shading here so that the eyes shine out of it. A bit of shading on the mouth. I forgot to put the segments in on the legs. Same as the arms with the kind of segmented legs here. A little bit of shading in there. Oh, also I was going to do some bolts that kind of join the leg together. So if you can imagine there'd be a bolt going through here. So I'm going to put a bolt on the side there. And also a bolt in there. A bit of shading on this as well, leaving the rivets white. Shading in different areas a little bit. Try and make these look a little bit metallic and do kind of lines like this and a bit of shading. A little bit of thicker shading like this. And a line like that makes it look a little bit metallic. A bit of shading on the arms here. When you shade, follow the contours of what you're drawing. So this is round, so I'm kind of shading in that direction. Okay, I could spend a long time working on this from this point, but that basically gives you the robot. Let's see if I can come up and show you the whole thing. Actually, I might have to turn him this way, he doesn't quite fit on the camera. There he is. It's the whole robot. So I hope you enjoyed drawing the robot, and I'd love to see your results, and maybe one day come to your school and give you a different type of drawing session. Oh, I'm upside down. Okay, so thank you very much. I enjoyed drawing my robot, and I hope you did too. So, bye-bye. I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I've written a couple of books about robots, so I thought I should show you them. This is the one that came out last year. This is Chip. So a little bit of shameless promotion here. If you fancy any more kind of roboty inspiration, then this would be the ideal book for you. Plenty of kind of robot inspiration, like I say. On this page here, it was these two robots over here that were kind of the main inspiration for Dumperhead. When I was painting those, it kind of gave me the idea for the book. I'll just show you a couple more pages. Sort of look at some space. It's a book about love. It's about rebellion. It's mostly about the environment, actually. Anyway, the other book that I mentioned was a book called Frankenstein. It's actually a Norwegian or Swedish version of it, actually. Again, lots of roboty inspiration inside this book as well. The Iron Giant, the film The Iron Giant, or based on the Ted Hughes story, was a big inspiration in both of these books. So, they're available on Amazon if you would like to purchase one. Take care and bye again.